Hey everybody, welcome to Tuesday night at Knox Makers. We do this every Tuesday, rain or shine, holiday or no. We come together and show some of the projects we're working on, things we've succeeded at, things we're failing at, things we might fail at, and it's a good time. So without further ado, we've got a few shares tonight. We'll start with Thea, who's going to tell us about ongoing projects and a new solution.
I'm short. So I have given 2 other shares talking about the cathedral block window quilt I'm working on. I'll actually do a complete update on the quilt next week, but I got far enough assembled to realize that I'm going to need 700 of the original squares, which means that these actually cover seams, like this is a corner and this is a corner and that's a side seam. So you almost need twice as many of the window colors as you do for the background quilt. So the final number came in, I'm going to need 1,350 of these little squares. And once you cut them, if you leave them laying around the house, they get crinkled and it's really hard to iron a 2-inch square. So it's a box. I made a new box so I can put all the little squares in there. They're flat. The flip down side instead of a top makes it easily accessible. And for the first time I tried to lock everything in. So I like how it turned out, but next time I need to make the top a little bit bigger. When I calculated my dimensions, I planned for the cardboard, not the padding. So I'll pass this around. Don't lose any of the little squares. I still have a lot more to cut. Well, right now I only have 11 rows done, which is actually 275. So I'm a third of the way done. So I'll fill up the box, do the windows I have, and then do the next section of the quilt. I'm not going to cut them all up front. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Thea. We have 2 Neils on the list tonight. I see 2 Neils in front of me. I don't know who will go first, but one has wood project. Either of you could have wood project.
I'm Neil number 2. Anyway, I usually get rough cut lumber, and when I get rough cut lumber, especially cedar, one of the first things I try to do is see if there's any faces. So something like that. So what I have to do is, of course, plane it and then book match it, and then hope that as you plane it and work it down that the face doesn't go away. But that one worked out pretty well. I also have a pelican. Get it around there. Can you all see the pelican? I also have, now this one was my wife's favorite, and I saw it with these as the eyes, and my wife said, no, it's a deer. And those are the ears. And the last one, a good friend of mine has a Afghan hound named Samira, and there is the Afghan hound. So when you get your lumber and you are deciding if you have, markings like this, start flipping it and turning it and flipping it and turning it, and eventually you will find, okay, this is out of 40 boards, and I got 4 that turned out like this. So, just It just, the grain will form itself. You know, you just, yeah, well, you know, I mean, the boards are all cut. And so you have at least boards next to each other. But, you know, I mean, you lay them out, then you flip them this way, then you flip them that way, then you flip them that way. You know, until if you see a face, it's there. If it's not, you just put it aside and move on. And sometimes it's a couple of boards away, and you go, wait a minute, that goes with that. And the graining comes around, especially where, you know, there's been a limb that goes off to one side or the other. It's a, as they say in the trade, a crapshoot. So, but you know, and then as you plane it and everything, you just have to hope that the face doesn't go away. But anyway, it's worth taking a quick look, because I mean, that's pretty cool.
What will you make of it? What will you make out of it?
Well, okay, that's the second part. I have used these as inlays before, but or a plaque. This one I'm going to just simply mount and give it to my friend. But you know, it's you never know. But you know, sometimes you have something in mind. You know, once you see it, I mean, I can't tell if that's a dog or a bear, you know. But anyway, so it just depends. It opens doors to other projects. So, you know, I'm building some boxes for my granddaughters, and they both are lovers of cats and dogs. So probably one of these is going to be inlaid into the top of one of their boxes. So anyway, but that's it. Yes.
Are there 4 holes in their vest that are the same shape?
What?
Are there 4 holes in their vest that are the same shape?
No. Any other questions?
Not to be outdone in the category of descriptive talk titles, we have Neil number 1 with alternative concepts.
So last week I explained that I've put this discipline on myself of all these things that I've saved over the past 30, 40 years, that I promised someday I would find something to make out of it. And so I'm trying to make more room in my workshop so I can bring more things in. And so I have started this thing that I'm referring to as alternative concepts, where I'm taking things that are familiar in one aspect, but in other aspects they may be kind of stretching it to see how they relate. So one of the things I found in one of the boxes that I had put some things away for a long time was some keyboards, computer keyboards. And had a tough time at first thinking, well, what should I do with a keyboard? I'm just gonna push these to the side for a while, and then I started going through another box and I found a bag of something else that had accumulated for about 35 years, and I said, that's when it hit me. That's what I got to do with these keyboards. And what I've done is I've turned them into keyboards. So all of the keys that are still in use, let's try to get that down a little. So these are the working keys that are still being used. Right. These are actually our front door. I won't go through all of them. These are the to the crypt. But I still had another keyboard to try and figure out what I was going to do with it. And I remembered that one of these things that I'd saved, one of the keyboards I saved was broken. Otherwise, I might have still used it on a future computer or something. And so what do you do with a broken keyboard? You make a broken key board. I don't know how well you can see it. Let me zoom in on them there. These are all broken keys. There we go. And that is my alternate concept for the week. Amy? I couldn't. No. The idea is to use the stuff up as quick and easy as possible. Locks. So, I don't understand. Uh-huh. Oh, yeah, well, there's been a lot of keyboards over the years. And also, you'll notice that when it comes to computers and pianos, a keyboard is one word. But since these are a keyboard, I broke it up into 2 words. Good. Okay, thank you.
Any more Neils, he asks? Last call for Neils. Thank you. Bringing up the rear for our last pre-sign up is Isaac with Golf Adapter.
I feel like Neil #1 is working out to be our local prop comic. I've got a buddy who likes to play golf, not like the good kind with like ghosts and windmills, but like the other kind. And he came to me frustrated the other day. He was explaining to me that if you play golf and you don't use the righty around cart, but you use the pushy cart or the pulley cart, then the different brands have like different attachment systems for their accessories. And I guess golf type people want like drink holders and sand dispensers and I don't know, umbrella things. I don't even know some of these things what they are, but they have lots of accessories and they're deliberately incompatible. So if you get a different cart, you're supposed to buy all the accessories again. And he was exercised about this. And he wanted to show me that they enforce this with these little attachment systems. So each cart has these sort of nubbins that screw into little attachment points and you can hang your accessories off of it. And so the next cart has a very similar but distinctly dimensioned nubbin, you see. And here's yet a third kind of nubbin, right? And so you have many sets of accessories. And so he came asking me, you know, is it possible that you could like 3D scan these things and like bodge the models together and like make adapters maybe on a 3D printer so I don't have to keep buying these things? And I suppose that probably you could do that. I bet some of y'all could probably do that without too much trouble. But if I'm honest, I've gotten to a point in my life where I'm kind of avoiding the 3D printer when I can. To me, it's an emblem of hassle for me. And what I have started doing instead is this sort of stack up of laser cut parts to make 3D things. And I realize that sounds completely insane, but it works really great. It's like really fast and it's durable and it's easy. And so here's an example of a goofy little adapter that I've made. And so you see this is made up of 1, 2, 3, this is 5 parts that have been laser cut. And so this is the good nubbin, I'm told. So this thing goes onto the good nubbin and provides the pesky nubbin. And so now you can hang your little accessory off of this thing at no charge, right? And so to do this, you know, I spent just a couple minutes with a pair of calipers and just made some measurements of the nubbins, no big deal. And then you go into Inkscape and draw a bunch of funny donut shapes and then go laser cut them out of the plastic. And then I chose to glue this stuff together with CA glue I've got also a bolt that goes through, which was primarily to register the parts together and make everything line up nicely, and then also, of course, to clamp it while the glue is setting. Probably the nut could come off now, but I feel like at this point it's reinforced for free, right? So as long as it's not in the way. The only fiddly bit really is that the adapter thingies, it can't naturally be made up of layers of 3mm material. But I saw a cool trick from Ray recently where he had a stack up of parts that he had made that were laser cut from both 3 and 2mm material in one stack. And I thought that was really neat. So what I did was I just cut all my parts in both 3 and 2, and so now in different combinations I can get 2mm, 3mm, 4, 5, 6, whatever you want. And so I've got like half a dozen adapters that I've put together with slightly different stack ups, and so I'm giving all these things to him, let him try all of his goofy accessories, and he can tell me which one works the best, and then I'll make, you know, a whole big bunch of them for basically nothing. So as goofy as it sounds, it's like really fast and cheap, and so far it's worked out for me really well. So join me in laser cutting. That's all. Thank you.
Did anyone wish to present who was not on the list? Yes, come on up.
Thought I'd give you guys a little bit of an update on Nakatomi Plaza a little bit. These are the lower resolution LEDs inside the actual building. As you may note, Nakatomi Plaza looks a little bit short right now. Well, this is the only one. This is the only LEDs I've got soldered up right now. So this will have to do. I think a real key part to it is the standardization that I've done in terms of the connections. As you can see, it's almost just as bright. The resolution is way less, so I'm going to have a lot less heat generation in the long term. And this connection standardization that I'm talking about is actually inside. I'll zoom out of this thing. So go wide, I guess. There we go. So as you can see, I've got the connections that kind of wrap around inside the actual building. And so as you go up, it kind of spirals up. And so I think I really lucked up in finding the 3-pin JST connectors. So now I have the same colors. I've got all the standardization that I need. So now all I've got to do is just build up. So there we go. Any questions? Yeah. I don't have a full building with me, sorry. Yeah, I didn't expect that. But I'll try and bring it next time. If you come next time, that's another reason to come down next time is to see the whole building. So, anyone else? I'm gonna try to. Yeah, it's yeah. Yeah, it's. I worked on it like it was just a sudden project about in October, as people may remember. So I've been working on it on and off for quite some time now, and I'm starting to make real progress now. Like I've got the good connections, I've got the power supply, I've got the standardization and everything else like that. And what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and build as high as I can go with the current power supply, right? And then I'm going to start using an actual power supply to get the LEDs all the way up to building. So this whole building is going to light up. So, yeah. Anything else? Great. Oh, yeah. 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 All right, thank you.
All right, thanks everybody. Do we have any new members? Any rather new people who haven't been here before? Welcome. It's good to see you. If you didn't get a tour beforehand, find someone after with a red name tag, and they'd be happy to give you a tour around the building. Before anyone breaks for the evening and goes and does fun things, stick around. We have a talk after, a lightning talk. Devin is going to talk to us about how to make paint using, I think, traditional methods, and I think that'll be riveting, and I'm going to be here. I hope you will too. This is the first in a series of lightning talks we're going to do on first in a couple of Tuesdays a month. We're going to try to do talks after the main the show and share, and so Devin is kind of breaking that seal for us. Thank you. A couple other announcements. Next week, this time, we're going to have a crew in here. Isaac has spoken a few times about a documentary that's being done about Knox Makers. There will be people here with cameras and filming, like reactions and everything else. We're going to try to limit that to late breaking or the later presentations in the evening. So if you don't wish to be on camera, you may have an escape. But we'd really like to show a good showing. We don't want this documentary to show a sea of empty chairs, right? So if you're game to stick around and maybe be on camera for a documentary next week, we'd love to see you. And just heads up, that's happening. So wear your tux if you have one. There's, in terms of a few upcoming events, Neil number one, might be interested in learning that there's a lock sport, a locksmithing class in about a month. So with all your broken keys, if you have a bunch of broken locks, you may wish to sign up for that class in a month to get into the locks. It's got a fair few seats open, so if that interests you, this class doesn't come up very often, so hop right on that. If, like Sue, you like putting faces on things using cross stitch, I wish I could wear this. You might tune in on February 22nd. Thea is going to teach a class on cross stitch, and the project, if I'm not mistaken, is a little, I don't know how to pronounce it, but bicornu. Biscornu. It's a French word, right? And it's a cool like pincushion thing. It looks really neat. You learn how to cross stitch. We've got some tickets left for that. Otherwise, our classes are pretty well sold out for the next week or so. We do have a MIG class, I think it's MIG, coming up on February 8th at 10 a.m. There are a few seats left for that. Otherwise, keep your eyes peeled on the events channel at Mattermost or on knoxmakers.org/events to see what events are coming up that you can get into. I think that's it for announcements, unless anyone has anything I missed. If you see anything, if you see a trash can that looks full, you see an air filter that needs replacing, or just see some junk sitting around that needs to be put up, please help. Do that. We will maybe convene at 7:30 sharp for Devin's talk on how to make paint. If you're not going to do that, go quietly make things in the shop. Have a good night. Thanks, everybody.